Now we back. Some great videos. We still got Miss Pamela Price and C.Legal in the building. I thank y'all for sticking around. We have a real deep conversation, so I'm gonna jump right back into it. Miss Price, when it comes to getting justice here in Alameda County, we kind of feel like we're desperate to have it. We don't really see it that much, and there's no way of getting it. There's no safety nets, no roadblocks, but we're kind of finding out there are some safety nets. There are some red flags. In fact, what just made the news, I think, that was Sheriff Ahern had a bunch of his deputies who had failed, was it the psych exam? And should have had no room anywhere near a gun, much less with a badge on top of that. And I think there was more than 47 was the number?
About 47.
First, would you elaborate on what that was? Because I know I'm kind of failing on that information. What exactly happened right there?
So there was an incident where a deputy sheriff killed 2 people, and it came out he had been having some type of relationship with one of the people, and he went to their home and he killed them. And as a result, being identified as a deputy for Alameda County Sheriff's Department, the question, then became, the media then began to ask the question, okay, who is this guy? What is his background? What is his history? And it came out that not only he, but about 46 other deputies had not passed the minimum qualifications of a psych exam. Right?
What does that mean, a psych exam?
So before somebody is hired as a peace officer, they have to go through a battery of tests, and they have to go through a examination to see, are they mentally able? It's not just physical, but are you psychologically fit to be trusted with a badge, a gun, the kind of power that you have? And a lot of these deputies most of them, their first assignment is in the jail, right? So we know the jail has had so many problems. Right. And so you have people working there. It's a hard job, right? And so you can't have people that aren't, don't have strong mental capacities and are not psychologically fit. So what we found, what was revealed, was that there were at least 47 deputies in the Alameda County Sheriff's Department that had not passed the psych exam, and therefore should not have been hired. It should be something that disqualifies you. And it's not uncommon, unfortunately, in police departments around the country. I know I've heard about it in Los Angeles, that they pass people on, or they waive the criteria, and they allow people to work that really should not be working in that kind of a trusted capacity. So that's what happened. Basically, they got caught because the test scores, or not the test scores, but the exams were revealed. It was determined that their scores were too low to have been hired, but Sheriff Ahern hired them anyway.
But he hired them anyways.
And is there nothing legally in place to hold him accountable for passing people on who didn't?
I'm sure that there is, but one of the problems that we've had in Alameda County is that the DA and the sheriff are in collusion together. And so that's why Ahern has not been held accountable ever. And so he does basically whatever he wants to do. I mean, Ahern put $50,000 in Nancy O'Malley's campaign in 2018 because he wants to make sure that Nancy O'Malley stays on that job. And we recently learned there's a PAC that was supporting Ahern in the June election. They raised about $300,000. Well, after Ahern lost, guess what? The PAC changed its name. Now it supports Terry Wiley.
I bet. And let's be honest. Ahern has a history of a lot of racist allegations. He proudly embraced the Trump regime, Jeffrey Beauregard Sessions. That was his whole little...
Right, the Oath Keepers. We have Oath Keepers. They have chapter meetings in Alameda County.
The law enforcement.
He invited them to come be part of the Alameda County Fair under the Sheriff's Department.
Like deputized, basically Ku Klux Klan members.
Right, exactly. Which, that's what happened in the South. So it's happened, and they recruit from law enforcement. And they, they're former law enforcement, or they try to get law enforcement to be part of their thing. And it's white supremacy. It is totally a racist ideology.
And so I want to right there, because racism does exist. But you're not running against an old white man. Terry Wiley is an older black man. what's going on there? Is racism over? Did it? What happened? It switched sides. What's going on here?
This race is not about me or Terry Wiley. It's about power and who holds the power in Alameda County. And people need to remember that at the time when the Black Panthers came about in 1966, they didn't just spring up out of anywhere. Alameda County was governed by a very powerful, wealthy Republican collective. Okay, the Republicans have always been wealthy and powerful in Alameda County, and they were able to maintain control over the criminal justice system. And they've used that control to over-criminalize Black and brown people. Nancy O'Malley didn't just pop up out of, West Oakland. Her father was the district attorney of Contra Costa County. She came from a law enforcement background and a law enforcement family. So when she came to Alameda County, she was the first woman hired. They opened the door for her because of where she came from. She rose through the ranks. She became the first female district attorney, but she didn't just get there, just because I'm from the community. No, she was part of that lineage and that legacy. And so when you have Terry Wiley now, first becoming the first Black chief deputy assistant, O'Malley promoted him in August of 2021. He's been there barely a year. And in fact, there were 2 people who were promoted at that time. But the reason was they were setting him up so that they could pass the baton to him. The fact that he has a Black face should mean nothing to this community. And what I tell people, we all know, those of us who fight against injustice, who fight for our rights, who understand the history and the legacy of white supremacy in this country, we know that there is a difference between Clarence Thomas and Thurgood Marshall, right? When Thurgood Marshall died and they said, oh, here we got Clarence Thomas, y'all should be happy. Everybody was like, no. This is not the man who will stand on the legacy and fulfill the promise that Thurgood Marshall held for us.
As his wife is showing today, right?
Right. And as he has shown consistently. So when we look at this race, I say we're going to either have a Thurgood Marshall administration of justice or we're going to have a Clarence Thomas administration of justice. That's clear as day, because Terry Wiley has never walked in this community as a progressive advocate for justice. He has always carried Nancy O'Malley's purse. He's carried her water. He's done everything that she wanted him to do. He defended her in the face of Reverend Wanda Johnson. He defended her when people said, we want the DA to prosecute the cop who killed Oscar Grant. Terry Wiley was right there beside Nancy O'Malley saying, oh, no, we can't do that.
Right.
As simple as a question this may be, when it comes especially to the younger generation, we will put a face to something and not look at who they are as a person. How important is it to really check somebody's background and follow the money? How important is that before you go make a vote for anybody, just in politics, period?
It's critical. One of the things that has made our politics so challenging and unreliable is that people will say anything to get elected. If you listen to Terry Wiley, like you say, he'll make you think I don't have any experience. He'll make you think I'm unqualified. And we had to tell him, look, if a woman with a degree from Yale and 2 degrees from UC Berkeley can't figure out how to run a budget, I need to give all of my degrees back. But so you have to look at what people's record is. What's their history? Have they been here with us fighting for justice, or are they just now saying, "Oh, I'm for the people. I'm going to help young people"? Hey, have you been helping young people?
And to kind of say what C.Lee's saying, the people that are investing money, they can invest money in somebody they think that's going to hold them accountable.
Right.
This ain't going to happen.
No,
they ain't going to bet on both sides. They're going to say, no, we're going to double down on one side to ensure that opposite. And I think that's the most important part. A lot of times, the general public, in fact, a candidate showed my wife and I how we could look up money, look up the funds. The general public, that's kind of a tricky map to see. Yeah. But when you can look that up, you're like, oh, wait, apartment complexes, they're funding, rental housing. Oh, they ain't doing nothing. They're, sheriff's unions, they're funding this candidate. Oh, they ain't gonna hold police accountable.
Yeah.
And that's what I think. What really needs to, the younger crowd, I think, really needs to understand is the way you're gonna find out how that candidate is gonna fall when they're elected is who's financing them.
That's right. Follow the money.
We hear that, but we do not understand.
I know,
When you say that, when you say
real.
follow the money, people do not understand how important that is. If the police officers association, if the police officers unions, if they are backing one candidate, what does that mean? Why would a police officers union back a more conservative candidate than a progressive candidate?
Right.
Could you explain that to us?
Sure, because police for a long time have controlled district attorneys. They have controlled politicians in the community. It's not just DAs. If you look at city council members, most of the cities in America, the most powerful union in the city is the Police Officers Association, because they have the most money and they control the narrative, and they will bully city council members. I've had multiple city council members in Alameda County who have endorsed me. They got threatened by the police union saying, we're going to come after you next. And so they've been a very powerful political player for decades, right? And so they're very threatened by someone who doesn't want their money, won't take their money. I met with a group of Latino police officers before I came here. And I told him, I need to be in conversation with y'all because I am going to be the next district attorney. But
so I'm glad
I don't want your money, and I don't need your endorsement.
I'm glad you said that, because this is a question I really want to ask. Because teamwork, when you talk about the system, it seems like a lot of people working together. Who are some people you want to add to your team, or what kind of people are you looking to add to your team as you become the next district attorney?
Yeah. Now, we have had so much support across the county, grassroots supports, organizations, whether it's advocacy organizations, Alameda County is blessed with a lot of nonprofits, 501c3s. So, this whole thing around the 47 deputies, that was highlighted by the Ella Baker Center. They've been on the sheriff for as long as I've known about the Ella Baker Center, at least 10 years. They have been looking at what Ahern has done. They've been following Ahern's money. They've been pushing the Board of Supervisors to have a sheriff's oversight committee and to hold him accountable. They've been advocating against using county money in the jail as a mental health facility. So I know I want those who have been active in trying to hold Sheriff Ahern accountable now successfully, because we got rid of Ahern. I want those folks on my team. I met with Community Works West and a whole group of folks that are part of the Gifford Center for Gun Violence Prevention, as well as the Brady Group. I need those people on my team. We got to deal with gun violence and getting rid of illegal guns in this community. And they've got the data, they've got the strategies, they've got the programs that work. We learned about a program today out of Minnesota that I had never heard of that's been working, dealing with young people who have been getting gun charges. Very successful.
A lot of the hood is kind of, I'm from the hood. We're a little bit more conservative when it comes to gun rights. How do you lean on that? Do you feel...
Man, we got too many guns. We got too many guns.
I say that too. A lot of times when minorities get guns, it's usually to kill another minority.
Well, it's not only that. And let's be clear. When you look at the data, yes, most people of color, most Latinos kill more Latinos. Blacks kill blacks. But whites kill whites. It's not a race thing. It's a gun thing. Most white people are killed by another white person with a gun. So it is not about your race. It's about who has access to a gun. What is that gun used for? And studies have shown in communities where you have a lot of guns, you have a lot of people dying by guns. And the number one cause that people die by gun, it's not, me and you shooting, it's suicide. And we don't talk about that. More people die by suicide by gun than anything else.
Self-inflicted wounds.
Yeah.
Well, that's a metaphor for everything right there, ain't that?
Right. And how many people would still be alive if they didn't have a gun? Because they made a choice, a bad decision, a bad choice in a moment of despair. And a lot of times, even where it's not a suicide situation, it's people being angry and losing control and making a choice that they, 5 minutes later they realize, oh wow, I didn't really mean to kill that person. But it's too late because you had a gun. And so I am dead set against the proliferation of guns in our community. I have to be, because I see the harm, whether it's suicides, whether it's young people between the ages of 18 to 26, whether it's kids who get, 5-year-olds that get killed because they messing with a gun. They find a gun.
They just ain't helping.
Yeah.
It ain't good guys with guns saving bad guys. It ain't working.
How much does poverty play into crime? And with being that we are in one of the most expensive places in the country to live, is there anything the DA can do to be of service to the people who out here struggling?
Right. We know that poverty is a driver of many things, not just crime. It's about desperation, and hopelessness. Being in a situation where you don't see no way out, right? Because you don't have nothing, don't nobody around you have nothing. I mean, I've been there, so I know that poverty will destroy your soul. And so my role, what I can do as district attorney, is be a voice around that, recognizing that the income inequality in the Bay Area is astronomical and growing, that the pandemic just exacerbated that, okay? As we start to recover, one of the things that I can do, the legislature passed a law in 2018 that removed some of the barriers to licensing requirements and job requirements for people with felonies and even misdemeanor convictions. I think it's AB 2339. It passed, and they said it was going to be effective in July of 2020. Well, guess what? In July of 2020, we're in a pandemic. So who could take advantage of that? But I know, as a district attorney, there's this new law that will help people who may have had a felony conviction and couldn't get a barber's license, or couldn't get a license to have that cannabis shop, right? Or couldn't qualify for this position. Now you qualify. I don't hear anybody talking about that. As district attorney, I can tell people that. I can support small businesses. I can support programs. We need after-school programs for kids, not only to learn, your basic educational skills, but to learn some vocational skills, and to become, I can sponsor activities that will lift people up and give them hope and give them a path out of poverty, because that's what we need. For me, education was a game changer. I was a high school dropout, working 2 jobs, working in a factory, saw no way out. I did not know how I was going to make it. But somehow, by the grace of God, I got accepted into Yale. And it was a game changer. And everybody doesn't have that opportunity. Most people don't get that opportunity. But to the extent that I can say to somebody, okay, maybe you can't go to Yale, but what about George Washington University? What about Cal State Hayward, What about Chabot College? What can we do to give you a pathway to have a better life? And if your life has already gotten detoured and you got messed up by the criminal justice system, I'm really going to try to make sure that you get a second chance at a first-class life.
That's real. Well, Ms. Price, C.Legal didn't get to ask too many questions tonight, though, but I definitely appreciate everybody getting involved. We need to have if we want to clean up our community, and unless we plan on arresting our way out of it, then we need to have these real conversations with our next district attorney. Ms. Pamela Price, if there is some moms out there like Ms. Santos who want to reach out to you because they feel lost, I can't even imagine to describe. I'll start crying just thinking about that pain. If they want to reach out to you, if they want to contact you, maybe you could give them some guidance. If they want to just stay up to your campaign, if they want to contribute to your campaign, how do we reach out to you?
Sure. My website is PamelaPrice4DA.com. That's Pamela Price, the number 4DA.com. And then our email. People email us all the time with requests and questions. If I can answer it, info@PamelaPrice4DA.com. I have tried on the campaign trail to talk to as many people who are in particular circumstances as possible. I mean, that's my life's work has been about representing everyday people. So I'm still trying to do that, but I'm on the campaign trail. So we'll get past this in like 4 weeks. It'll be over. And then we'll be able to really get into that office and start making some changes. And I want people, one, to hold me accountable and to make sure that I am fulfilling the mandate that we're going to have. And also let me know, what do we need? I mean, we're going to start a process whereby we create commissions when we start that are going to focus on the different issues in Alameda County, the different things that we know we got to fix, you know, and it is about helping families. Really.
That's real. Well, I look forward to that. I really do hope that, one, that you win. Yeah. And two, I hope that Miss Santos out there wanted me to ask that question, and I hope Miss Santos reaches out to you, and more than anything, she finds her justice. There's a lot of 70% of, all that went bad. Those 70% of families, they're still dying out there. So
I know. It's absolutely insane. And I represent, or I was consulted with the mother of a young woman that was murdered in Oakland, and she talked about how she asked the DA, I just want to, when it took her advocacy for them to find the guy and figure out that he did it. And she kept saying, I just wanted to have a chance to look at him and just be there when you make the decision about what to do. And they ignored her. They cut a deal with this guy and sent him back to prison in Vegas. And she never got a chance to look at him.
No closure. No
closure. No respect. No compassion.
That's
so
what we need.
We're not going to operate like that.
That's what, Ms. Price, I definitely feel motivated. I feel excited to have you. I look forward to when you do win. Yeah. You know where I'm voting.
Yes.
C.Legal.
What's going on November 8th?
Tell us what we're doing on November 8th.
November 8th. Well, ballots are started already. You can vote now. When you get that ballot in the mail, vote. Vote early.
And if you don't get the ballot in the mail?
If you don't get the ballot in the mail, call the registrar's office, go online, figure out where you can go to ac.gov, and they'll show you, put your name in there, and they'll see where your registration is. Everybody should be if you're registered, you should be getting a ballot in the mail within the next week. And if you don't, check out ac.gov or vote.org. You can check out where your ballot is. But get those ballots in, because the early votes are like gold. It's like money in the bank.
And you can still vote in person. And what are they? The provisional ballots? If you're not registered, how does that work?
You can register all the way up until the day of November 8th. You can register at a polling place on November 8th and have your vote be counted.
So no excuses.
No
excuses.
No, we need every vote. Every vote counts.
And we need to get that 8% up. That turn. Right. We need to turn the votes up. Get more people out.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate everybody. This was a great conversation. Ms. Price, I always learn something every time you stop by. C.Legal, the only way we reaching it is by having bridges like C.Legal to reach this audience, you know? So I appreciate it takes a community for us to work together like this. I thank y'all. We got some great music tonight. Y'all stay tuned.